Welcome and hello, hello and welcome. Welcome and hello, hello and welcome, guys. Apologies. I have to whisper a little bit here, not my normal loud, obnoxious self. I will try to keep the obnoxious going as much as I can while not being overly loud. But anyway, it is un poco mas, the show where we give you just a little bit more. And welcome to my good friend Keen's Tam. Thanks for stopping by, San Diego. Really appreciate it. It's un poco mas. Of course, they call me Little Danny Cornbread DeCarlo because I'm moist, I'm doughy, and I crumble under pressure. They call me the tugboat because I'm short in stature, pull more than my own weight, and I'm rarely far from my home port. Of course, they call me Stubby Cohiba or Stubby Macanudo, depending on the day I'm telling this idiotic joke, because of a manscaping accident I had in the late 1970s just outside Miami. Never use a vintage Vitamix to manscape because you just don't want your genitals hanging by a steel blade spinning at 30,000 RPM. It's simply a recipe for disaster. No pun intended. Recipe. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Oh, they call me DJ Patchy Drizzle. They call me MC Al Dente. You can, of course, call me by my Christian name, Tabasco Rojas, former Montreal Expos relief pitcher, holding the designation of having the worst ERA in Major League Baseball history. They call me Hurricane Lopez because I look funny when I play tennis and I spin around like a big fat hurricane. They call me Grimace because my body type is Grimace, but I'm working out and striving for a dad bod someday. I don't know what else they call me. I can't really think of it right now. DJ Patchy Drizzle, MC Al Dente, Man Boobs McGee, whatever it is. What the hell is it? Wednesday, hump day, happy hump day, everybody. It is un poco mas. Thanks for joining in. Today we're going to talk about a little stack. We're taking stacks, believe it or not. Let's talk about Iovance Biotherapeutics Inc., ticker symbol IOVA. This is a commercial stage company, but it's also a research stage company. It's kind of one of those things. They have their product is approved for melanoma, and the data on that just gets better and better every time they release data. It was like last time I just saw the data, 44% response rate, but that kicks up into the 50s once you administer this sooner. So they're going to start using that therapy more and more. That's going to ramp. They're targeting over $1 billion in mature sales per year, but that pales in comparison to the market opportunity they have with their lung cancer program and other programs they have in the pipeline. So this is a huge long-term winner in my opinion. The immediate question is, the immediate sort of bearish part of the equation is that they are going to have to raise some more money, and they're going to have to do it soon. The good news is that so many institutions seem to have conviction and believe in this company. I think they're going to be able to raise money on pretty good terms, but time will tell on that. In terms of what's going on immediately, there's a lot going on. Okay, they just got issued a very, I don't know exactly what the patent means, but I know the patent is important. I haven't had a chance to read through it all. They just put out some more really good data on the melanoma side. You have earnings coming up next Tuesday, and possibly most importantly to the short-term price action is you still have a 31% short on this. Now, this is the old Goldman shuffle. Today, 7 million shares traded. The stock was up 10 cents, which I think is, foretelling of things to come. I don't know if that's the right word, but SMCI, the valuation is just absolutely ridiculous on this one. Am I on mute? I'm not on mute. But anyway, I just want to show you another example of that Goldman shuffle. If you see Goldman, they're one of the lowest. Everybody has this, like HC Wainwright. This guy is a really good analyst. You've probably seen him on TV before. But he has a price target of $9. Barclays, this guy is another really good analyst. I see his ratings a lot. He's got a buy at 10. TD Cohen, buy at 5. Wells Fargo is a buy at 14. That's another really good analyst. And then Goldman. Goldman raises from $1.50 to $2. Now, why does that make them the most dishonest tiny wang hacks in the entire industry? Well, I tell you, there's nothing wrong with thinking the stock's worth $2, but if you go down here, in terms of institutional ownership, you'll see that Goldman is a major shareholder. Their average cost is $6.87, and last quarter they increased their position by 31%. So these guys are completely full of shit. They're always doing that. They are always pissing all over stocks that they're accumulating. And it seems to be an effective strategy, and there's nothing illegal about it, but it's just very, very dishonest. Now, if you look at a chart, I don't think you could make any mistake about this uptrend. The amplitude of the range has not really changed. This is just, it's trying to break through, obviously twice now, three rejected, back down to this line yet again. Volume is weakening, but I don't think the shorts really have a leg to stand on here outside of the money raise. The science is extremely compelling. The pipeline is there. I mean, these guys have a potential cure for lung cancer that would be worth untold riches. I mean, lung cancer is kind of the holy grail. If you look at what happened to SMMT, that stock was under $1 and all of a sudden it shot up to $30. And that was based on lung cancer data out of China and partnerships out of China. But the bottom line, if you have an effective best in class cure for lung cancer, you're going to be able to write your own ticket. And I'm not saying they're going to get there, but it's certainly looking like a possibility. Chart looks extraordinarily bullish to me. Extraordinarily bullish. They're accumulating. Like, why wouldn't shorts cover? Shorts in November had a dip all the way down to $1.76. They could have covered $1 lower than this. But what do? They just dig deeper and deeper. Take a look at the short interest, guys. I mean, today they shorted again, just like they always do. And live, it's showing the short interest is 34% of the free float, and cost to borrow is still 0.95% with utilization of 88%. So that tells me there's institutions out there backing these shorts. These aren't some rogue waves, but shares on loan being higher than short interest, it does leave them some room to attack. In terms of Jay Ajayi, what's up, Jay Ajayi? Great running back from my fantasy team. Yeah, I mean, it's really looking like, that the U.S. is lining up to send a ton of missiles into Iran. Probably the goal at this point is just regime change. I don't think Trump's really going to couch it. I don't know if this is the right time. I don't know if this is the right way, but I am all for regime change in Iran. Some disgusting fuckers. I mean, they slaughter tens of thousands of their own citizens for protesting. They have rape rooms. They murder people. I mean, it's not just women. It's any dissent. It's not even just like not a free society, but I don't really like theocracies. I don't like any of this stuff. But I don't know. I don't know if it's the right time. I don't know if it's the right method. I don't have the expertise to say, but I'm all for getting those fuckers out of power and holding them accountable for all the horrible shit they've done. But I'm for holding everybody accountable for the stuff that they've done. But yeah, I don't really have a great answer in terms of what to do over there. But all I know is those guys, the regime over there should be gone. They should be out of power. They've been just repressing and terrorizing their own people, particularly women, forever. But 50 years now is 50 too long. But they don't want the Shah's son back in there. You just don't know exactly what comes next. I mean, that's the major problem with regime change. It's not, it's easy to make a decision and say, hey, these guys are bad, we want them gone. But it's whoever you install, whatever you do. It's been shown that, it's very hard to sort of make democracy work in, some ways. Some other places it has been successful. I mean, you had some successful elections in Iraq, but I don't know. I don't know, Jay. I don't know the solution, believe me. But anyway, short interest is just absolutely, continues to be through the roof while these institutions load. IOVA jumps on FDA nod as a short squeeze just starting. This is a pretty good article. I don't know where this comes out of. Ad hoc news. U.S. inventors hunting biotech upside behind the price action based on U.S. biotech cell therapies flagship product TIL therapy for patients with advanced melanoma who have failed prior treatments. FDA's recent approval marks the first approved TIL therapy in the United States, a milestone that's direct implications. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Fundamental shift, transition, pure clinical risk to execution, commercial risk, balance sheet question, how quickly Iovance raise additional capital as it scales, or to scale sales, expand indications, and build manufacturing, sentiment positioning. Elevated short interest plus fresh institutional buying can fuel violent swings both ways. And I'd agree with that. If you come over here yesterday, U.S. patent issued to Iovance Biotherapeutics for methods and composition for T cell culture, potency assays, and use with cell therapy products. So this is a way to measure, I think, the cells in the body. The present invention provides novel processes, compositions, and methods for analyzing or assessing the potency and or functionality of tumor TIL products for use in therapy. So this measures how well this is working, I guess, including human cancer therapy and analyzing or assessing the potential and or functional of other polyclonal products such as marrow infiltrating lymphocyte and peripheral blood lymphocyte products, compositions, method, and kits for preparing and treating cancer using TIL, MIL, and PBIL products are also. So that was just, it was filed on May 17, 2024, and it was granted under patent number 12553031, which could ultimately be very important because, you know, the IP fortress is everything here. When you come up with one of these things and you spend all the money, you want to be able to sell it exclusively for 20, 30 years. That's where the bread is buttered, folks, and that is how they make the donuts. Yeah, looking at these targets is absolutely ridiculous. This, you know, but that's just typical Goldman. And then UBS will touchdown David Dye down there with a hold, but he hasn't updated that in about 500 years. And I don't know if I'm saying this right, but Gula Livshitz, she's really, really smart. She's a good analyst. They have $17. It's 525% upside. But just with the exception of the outlier, Goldman, see analysts are very, very bullish on the stock. Now, this is what I want to talk about. This is the most important thing when you got it, double wide. Of course. Thanks for watching, brother. This is the most important thing to follow with stocks because these massive market makers like BlackRock, Goldman, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, and others, they don't tend to get in these stocks and lose money. They tend to really know what they're doing. So when you look at these average costs and you look at the fact that you can still buy this thing under 3 and you could have just bought it under 2 in November or going back a ways further under 2, you're in a very favorable position if you're just putting eyes on the stock. I've owned it for a while, so kind of gone through the ups and downs, but more I started, you know, bought most of my shares reasonably low, so I'm pretty happy with my average. Have to double check. But just looking at this, guys, top shareholder is BlackRock. Average cost over $8. Last quarter, they increased by 14%. So they have almost 30 million shares. Now these are very, very significant positions because this is not a very big company. MHR fund didn't change anything, but they're still 29 million shares. See Vanguard, again, just in lockstep with their little nephew, BlackRock, increased 13%, 27 million shares. State Street, another of the biggest, most successful, State Street, all these, increased 51% last quarter. Average cost 8.84. Bank of America increased their share count 127%. Average cost 3.18. So they're averaging down very, very hard. What do you notice here, guys? Of all these major shareholders, almost none are selling. This is just an index fund that sold. Palo Alto, which I haven't liked a lot of their moves lately, honestly. I've seen the ones that are selling are not the household names. These are not the companies that make all the money. Bank of America with 127%. Invenomic, I always have trouble saying that, increased 13%. And then you have, that's another index fund. I don't really count that. Morgan Fudley, the great Morgan Fudley, perhaps Midwest Values is a hand in this. They're up 65%. Average cost $6.18. So these guys, it looks like they're underwater, but the shorts are the longs. The call is coming from inside the house, and they know eventually they're going to run this thing up. So, and then we talked about Goldman increasing 31% while trashing the stock nonstop. Average cost is around $7. You can see why they want to thrash it down because they're probably adding here if I know Goldman. Geode, again, increasing 16%, average cost $8.44. Millennium, it's probably the lowest average I've seen other than Two Sigmas. And Millennium, just a couple of pennies difference. They added 50%. So again, averaging down quite hard. Susquehanna buying, again, raising by 50%. Average cost $5. Two Sigmas, 60%. Average cost $2.67. DE Shaw is another one I've been watching lately. 5,000% increase, dropped their average all the way to $2.57 or $2.50. So they didn't own very many shares before, but they just went kind of wacky with it. Another extremely successful sort of short long type is Jane Street. They increased 153% to 3.5 million shares, average cost $2.78. So they got in there just right. Hold on one sec, guys. I got to take this call. I'll be right back with you. Sorry. Sorry about that, guys. I had a call that I could not avoid. I got so much work going on right now. We got wind just ripping our roofs off. I had a client with a 15-foot tall tempered glass wall just shattered. And, so I got to find an after hours glass guy to jump up there and fix that. Yeah, there will be dilution. This was a triple digit stock in 2012. Yeah, I mean, now and then, or no and then, excuse me. I mean, that happens with these. They fly high on hype. They get, reality calls, reality bites. They come crashing back down, and there's sort of this long, slow walk down because people realize it's going to be many, many years before they can make a profit or even make any revenue for that matter. And they're going to have to raise money 5 or 6 different times. So you really don't want to be in these too early, obviously. Now it could have been worse. It could be Jaguar, where your shares went Jaguar Health, JEGX, where your shares went from like $4 billion down to 60 cents. But you know, pep talk, nuts are sore. Well, sore nuts are my specialty. Um, anyway, just continue. Guys, I know this might seem boring just to go over what these companies are doing, and it might seem just, repetitive, but this is the key to the whole thing. This is the key to the whole market is taking these things off the bottom and watching the ones that the real monsters, the real market makers, the real guys who actually move stocks. I mean, you don't understand that Goldman, Bank of America, BlackRock, MHR, these guys don't just guess. They control the price. Don't you get that? If their average cost is 10 and this thing was going to be a turd and it was going to just keep going down and go away and never be commercially viable, why would they all be increasing their share counts anywhere from 100 some percent to 50%, 60%? I mean, it just goes on and on. Susquehanna, Two Sigmas, D.E. Shaw. You keep going. Jane Street, 153%. Now, Citadel sold a few shares, 17%. I don't love to see that, but look at JP Morgan. JP Morgan increased their share count by 145%, and their average cost is $11.75. Now, granted, it's only a $10 million position, which isn't even a mouse fart for JP Morgan, but you got old Chucky Schwab, my old drinking buddy, Chucky Schwab. 778 average cost, just going up 10%, but a few people selling down here, but Wells Fargo increased 30%. I mean, it's one after the other. Susquehanna increasing their calls. So, guys, I'm not the smart money. I can't drive the bus. I'm just a passenger on the bus. Yeah, it's freedom of speech, Jay Ajayi, as long as it's not technically insider information inside the company, but that's just how it works. All we can do is follow these guys' lead. I mean, you have to get in early, you have to be patient, and you have to not be somebody who starts getting all hamster on crack about the opportunity cost you're missing, because as soon as you leapfrog from one thing to another, you can miss the run. So you have to have conviction, you have to stick with stocks, and you really have to have conviction on individual stocks if you're going to pick them. Because if you're jumping around too much to the flavor of the month, if your timing is just slightly off, you're always going to lose. If you have conviction and you pick good stocks, even though you don't know when that run is going to come, you know it's going to come, but you don't know when, you're always going to win, or at least you're going to win the majority of the time, in my opinion. Yeah, that was really all I had on this one. Wasn't going to be a long one for me. I know 20 minutes is still pretty long for most people, but it's very, very short for me. This support line looks really, really good. Now, people always kind of get on me of like, oh, you should put the support line at the very lows. People are like, you should put the support line down here because I completely disagree. That's not how I chart. I see where this makes a market. I see where the real support is. Algos can drive this thing down. See how fast it recovers. It gaps up huge here. Gaps up huge from all the way from $1.83, and then closing at $2.30. And people who think that gap's going to fill, I don't think so, but could fill on the money raise. You never know. Formed a golden cross, Keynes did it. Now and then's looking for SMCI. I say this without any hint of puffery or exaggeration or showmanship. SMCI might be one of the most undervalued stocks I've ever seen, at least recently. I mean, if you look at a pure AI play that's trading now at like way less than half of this year's, it's almost down to like a third of this year's sales. Not quite, but 40% of this year's sales, 70% of last year's sales. And I know there's been margin compression. I get that, but I don't think that's forever. Other businesses can't compete with that. The reason their margins went to shit is basically the growing pains of learning how to build these huge data centers. They said a lot of the charges were shipping costs, rush fees, basically things to keep these customers happy that they just couldn't avoid. They just had to bite the bullet. But every time they complete one of these huge projects, they're going to know more and more. And with the data center building blocks, their margins are going to go back up. Now, they might not go back up to 15%, but they're not going to sit below 7%. You can't make a living in that neighborhood, even if you're Uncle Chucky. And quite frankly, the fact that they scratched out 69 cents of profit with a, gross profit under 7, it shows extreme discipline on the part of the wigger. If they ever do fire the wigger, I'm going to invite him to come run my business, because that shady bastard, that dog hunts. Dude, that guy can mix up a bowl of soup. Loudmouth soup. Anyway, guys, when my jokes start to just become this sort of muddled incoherence, I know it's probably time to give up on this video. But yeah, Golden Cross, short, institutional loading, earnings coming up, good day. That's the other thing I wanted to show you actually was the data. Where was it? I forget where it was. Maybe it was here. Yeah. I think it was here. New trial data, and then they were also talking about updating on the lung cancer. I haven't read this article, so I don't know what it says. Supposed to achieve 2025 revenue guidance 250 to 300, first full calendar year, looking at peak sales. Meanwhile, Iovance also provided an update on the development treatment for lung cancer. The company said the commercial opportunity could be up to 7x larger than the current opportunity with melanoma. I think it'll be much larger than that. Expected to complete the enrollment and data updates process for the anti-lung cancer drug this year. Wow. They're going to complete enrollment for lung cancer this year with the drug anticipated to launch in the second half of 2027. The company also said it still has 307 million cash and cash equivalents, which will fund its operation through the second quarter of 2027. So this new CFO is really an ass kicker. Instituted a lot more discipline. The cost savings are working. They must have been kind of dripping at the money, a little drip, drip, drip. But because I think that's quite a bit more cash than they had the last earnings report. They have earnings, I believe it's on Tuesday. I don't think there's that much. We don't know. I think it's going to be pretty much in line with expectations, but it's going to be interesting to see how many patients they're treating because the data that they get every time they put out data on this company, the melanoma treatment just looks better and better and better. And you saw more data on that. Where was it? Sorry, guys. I really haven't had time to plan this thing. Whoops. Sorry. My mouse is not cooperating. There's a mouse in the house. Let's see. News. Wait, how did I get back to SoFi? What the hell's going on here? Blockchain? Come on. What the hell? Sorry, guys. I'm not exactly technically proficient. So you got to wait for it to settle down. That's the one I want. So this is Insider Monkey, but Iovance Biotherapeutics, blah, blah, blah. The company developing Amtagvi is a novel T-cell therapy for advanced melanoma patients receiving anti-PD-1 targeted therapy. Lalit Kapatian, sorry, I'm going to say MD, MSH, of H. Lee Moffitt Cancer Center and Research Institute. Sorry, I can't talk. The real-world response rate builds on existing clinical data and supports consideration of lifileucel as soon as possible after immune checkpoint inhibitor treatments. An overall response rate of 44% was observed in the full cohort, with a 52% response rate among patients treated in earlier lines of therapy. So the earlier you treat, the better, the more successful, the higher response rates, meaning they're going to give this to patients earlier, which means they're going to give it to more patients, which means more revenue. It's as simple as that. The better, obviously, it's a cure for cancer. The better data, the better response rate, the better it looks. And every time they release data, this just looks better and better. Daniel Kirby, I remember when he used to sell vacuum cleaners door to door. Chief Commercial Officer of Iovance, the impressive response rate paired with 5-year durability and survival data affirm a best-in-class profile and better outcomes with Amtagvi in patients. The impressive results position the company to capitalize on an unmet medical need whereby more than 8,000 people die annually as a result of advanced melanoma. Iovance started developing and commercializing tumor-infiltrating lymphocytes, TIL therapies to treat solid tumor cancers. By leveraging patients' own immune system, Iovance creates personalized cancer treatments, including FDA-approved Amtagvi for melanoma that recognize and attack cancer cells. Science is just amazing, guys. Science blows my mind. I wish I was smarter. Princess J is a, honors biotech, biochem, excuse me. She's just way smarter than me. Good for her. Good for her. Most of you probably are too. But anyway, there's so many good things going for this company. The fiscal discipline, the science, and Amtagvi looking better and better. You're going to have, I believe, accelerated approval of the lung cancer therapy because I believe it's going to work just like this one works because the science is exactly the same. So as long as they fine tune it and do their work properly, it's going to give the response rates. And obviously lung cancer, they're saying 7-8 times as many. I think it's probably more like 20 times the opportunity because lung cancer internationally, like if you, in China is all over the place. And a lot of countries, there's still a lot more smoking than there is in the US. And I know Europe and stuff's way down on smoking, but marketing like acting AI can create bank charter and massive growth. Yeah, these banks shouldn't be allowed. Yeah. Anyway, guys, that's really all I have. It's IOVA, Iovance Biotherapeutics. Earnings coming up. We'll have to see what happens, but they're really shorting this one. 34% short interest. with market makers buying like crazy. So we'll just have to see, or is it all coordinated? Are they going to flip and go long at once? Or is there going to be sort of a, you know, tiny wing gunfight, little Mexican standoff? Yeah, Bobby Joe. A lot of places they still, if you look at the tobacco companies, you know, they're still extremely profitable, and that's not on the back of you know, Western Europe, the United States, where smoking is down, but other places in the developing world still smoke them if you got a mentality. So yeah, it is. You know, it's nothing even. I don't. I'm not. I don't have like any hatred for smokers or anything, but there's nothing pleasurable about it to me. I used to smoke cigarettes sometimes when I was drunk, but I stopped drinking so long ago, so I've stopped smoking, even casually, even bumming a smoke. I like haven't done that in so long. It's just now the smell of cigarettes just makes me kind of sick. But I don't do the fake cough right now. Excuse me, tiny wing, tiny wing. Um, used to be, you know, if you when I was very young, you saw a woman smoking and drinking, you thought you had a chance to get laid because at least like, hey, she's willing to take a chance, but not on this fat guy. Not that big of a chance. Anyway, guys, really appreciate you watching. It's IOVA, it's Un Poco Mas, it's Tabasco Rojas, it's Little Danny Cornbread DeCarlo, it's the Tugboat, it's DJ Petros, it's MC Al Dente, it's Stock Karen, it's Hurricane Lopez. For all the voices in my head, thank you for joining me, and we will see you next time. I will try to do an SMCI and a prop as soon as I can, but don't think that's going to be tonight because I'm losing my voice and I'm feeling sick and I'm just a little bit portly, a little bit of a grimace type body.